Markets looking for direction right now. So much talk being done, of course, with the hearings set to begin today in Washington over the wiretapping scandal and the Russian interference scandal. But they should be talking about the G20. They should be talking about interest rates. Should be talking about tax cuts. Here's Mike Eppel.
Maybe a little distraction on various topics other than the economic focus. This comes at a time, Kevin, as well, that Donald Trump has unveiled his first proposal for the U.S. federal budget, which included all sorts of spending cuts on various departments within the U.S. government. Plus, of course, you've got all the talk about, repealing and replacing Obamacare and budgetary issues on tax cuts. And there's a lot of moving parts right now going on in the U.S. Political spectrum that may at some point have a trickle-down effect on the economy. The G20 Finance Ministers Summit over the weekend in Germany did have some influence coming from the Trump administration, in as much as the statement from the group did not include talk about a pushback against protectionism. A previous guidance from the G20 finance ministers talked all about free trade, globalization, this time very different tone because you've got a new U.S. Treasury Secretary there and the Trump administration's influence regarding America First. Morning markets this morning down a little bit, not a lot going on quite yet. It's a fairly quiet week actually on the U.S. economic calendar. This week will, though, include a federal budget for the federal government here. And how much can Finance Minister Bill Morneau do right now, what with the uncertainty going on with our largest trading partner? You don't want to be aggressive on taxes. You don't want to be aggressive on a lot of big trade policy. They're looking at building the Canadian economy internally, spotlight on innovation. There's been a lot of talk about funding for innovative measures, entrepreneurship, building Canadian companies up. And the other thing that will be a highlight to economists, at least, will be the fact that there were some internal reports from the federal Liberals about the idea that they're not entirely sure when the federal government will be out of a deficit scenario. So will there actually be a spotlight saying, okay, over X number of years, this is when we're going to balance the books? That's going to be something to watch for, certainly for currency traders today. We talked about this Friday, Kevin, with the sing-song parade of songs from Beauty and the Beast, how big a movie that was going to be. Disney has already recouped its costs. The production on Beauty and the Beast, $160 million. In the United States alone, they made $170 million at the box office, another 150 or thereabouts million globally. It has shattered opening weekends for family movies specifically. It did much better than Finding Dory did, the last big Disney release. So this is the start of potentially something big. Again, Disney's Beauty and the Beast off to a very strong performance in its opening weekend and should hit the billion-dollar mark globally over the next several weeks. And then, of course, you got the merchandising and the spillover effects on the theme parks and all that sort of fun stuff that Disney, of course, is associated with. We'll track that stock today. Hudson's Bay Company dealing with a data breach. Some customers for Saks Fifth Avenue saw some information pop up on the website, apparently, according to the tech blog BuzzFeed. The HBC alerted to this about some customer names and what they bought showing up on websites. There was no credit card information or phone numbers or anything of that nature, but nevertheless, the Bay dealing with this data breach at Saks Fifth Avenue, saying that, of course, customer security is of utmost importance. But how many times have we seen this with big companies dealing with some sort of a hack attack or what have you? How this happened, we're not entirely sure, but we'll track the potential implications on the markets resulting from that today. New issues for Uber. Jeff Jones, who came over from Target to be the president of the San Francisco-based ride-hailing company, quitting unexpectedly over the weekend, saying that his values do not align with that of upper management at Uber, the company that has been dealing with some other high-level executive departures just over the past month. As Uber's been dealing with internal issues, it sometimes happens with these fast growth companies. They have to deal with growing pains. Maybe that's the case in point for Uber, but it's worth 30, 40, $50 billion. Who knows how much that company is worth? Do they go public? When do they do that? A lot of unknowns about Uber right now. And we do have the price for oil starting the trading day lower. It's at a 3-month low, in fact, at $48 a barrel. It's been on the slippery slope here for the past 2 weeks because U.S. oil production is at an all-time record high and expected to climb further. So that's something to watch. That has Canadian economic implications, certainly. And the Canadian dollar starting the trading day just shy of 75 cents U.S.